us a little bit about your character.
Sure. I play Lagertha, a fierce shield maiden, and a shield maiden is a female warrior that fights alongside with the Viking men, and my role, part of the shield wall, is to really make hole or grab the holes or fill in the holes in the Viking, the shield wall. But not only am I a loving mother, I'm also a woman who's in love with her husband. Started off as a farmer, but I'm also a hunter and a gatherer and a warrior. And as my character gains more status and power, I have more responsibilities of dealing with the community and the Viking, I guess, our society, our little village. So it's a very fun role.
It seems interesting too, the whole, I mean, we're getting history here basically that a lot of people don't know. It seemed interesting, learning some of this stuff in the first episode. What did you learn? I mean, it seems like you must have picked up a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, for me, even just doing research about who Vikings were, there's not that much information out there on the Viking society. A lot of people think that they were these barbarians with horns out of their helmets. But we worked with a historian. Michael Hirst created the show. He also did Tudors, and he wrote Elizabeth with Kate Blanchett. So he worked with a historian to really make everything as authentic and as real as possible. Anywhere from the wardrobe and everything having the armor laced all the way up, and to the hair and adding bones in, and the jewelry being as authentic as at that time period, to our accents and what Vikings, who they were and how did they speak. Even in terms of their belief system and the mythology, everything is as accurate as possible, and I think a lot of people will appreciate that.
It also strikes me as a culture shock almost, because we haven't seen shows about this era really that's this historically accurate. Mm-hmm. So, was that a culture shock for you playing some of this stuff? Or?
Oh, it was a dream come true, just because I get a chance to actually dive into a whole culture, a whole era that I knew nothing about, and I started to educate myself on it. Just in terms of even the mythology and why were they the number one warriors? Why were they so undefeated in their battles? And when you understand that their belief system and how they believed in Odin, which is the god of war, and that they believe that their heaven, which is they call Valhalla, in order to get there, you have to die in battle. And so that gave them a fearlessness and indomitable spirit to really go after what they wanted in the raids.
Well, what was the set like? Because obviously I heard a bit about it. It sounds intense, but it sounds like a really cool experience.
Oh, it was great. Working in Ireland was fantastic, first of all. And the set design inside the studio or even outside the studio, and the landscapes were absolutely mesmerizing and incredible. Right. And anywhere from our house of having the right, accurate way of living, like, the Vikings, our house was one room, and with a center fireplace to heat up the entire room. That's how they lived and what they ate, and would they eat with their hands, and all that stuff was really interesting. And not only that, having such a production value and having MGM and History Channel behind us, and really being in Ireland and allowing us to do what we want, we got a chance to use an amazing international cast and have incredible extras that are locals from Kattegat, which is our village, to really portray different aspects of the Viking culture. Wow. And I think a lot of people will appreciate that.
That's cool. What was the hardest thing you had to do? Because obviously it's a challenging kind of physical role.
I think one of the hardest things I had to do, other than the role in terms of trying to understand and getting to know who Lagertha was as a person, obviously getting that accent down, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist on that. It's just coming on set, and the first time I was on set, I was the only female with 14 Viking men, and the other cast members are huge. They're like 6'6", they're huge, and holding my own and being cooped up in a golf resort with them, and just really getting to know them, and I think it was very helpful with my character, since I was a shield maiden and would be in battle and riots with these men and how would I hold my own. And it was challenging a little at the beginning, but definitely a great little gift too.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. Well, where would you say that she goes throughout this story that you can share with us?
Wow. Well, Lagertha's character is so complex. She's not only a teammate and a partner of Ragnar's. Definitely holds her own in that relationship. Right. She will do anything to protect her family and protect her relationship, but she also is a strong voice for women in that society and will protect a woman slave, for example, and so she wouldn't get hurt or get taken advantage of by other men, because in that era, in that culture, they were allowed to do what they wanted with slaves, especially female slaves. But also her character as my husband gains more status and power, and he goes off to raids to England, for example. I'm left with dealing and having more responsibilities with the community and making the right decisions and using my belief system and mythology to support the decision making, really settling disputes. So I think it's a combination. Personally challenging, definitely. My character is not only strong, but she's very vulnerable and has to overcome a lot. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but definitely overcome a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of times these kind of historical shows, it ends up being kind of a filter to look at our own culture. Do you think there's some sort of message or some sort of symbolism in Vikings that represents today, here and now?
Well, always. I think, for example, how women were portrayed is very important, especially in this era, from 700, 750 BC or 700 to like 1050, women were very strong in the Viking culture. They were allowed to own property, they were allowed to own land and divorce their husbands and go to battle alongside their husbands. So it's really refreshing to know that a woman can hold her own and be a warrior as well as a mother and a wife who's in love with her husband. So for me, that was very satisfying and great for women that are very independent today and they're in the workforce that also want to be a mother as well as work hard. And I think there's a parallel to that. And just at the end of the day, it's not only a historical drama, but it's a family saga from the heart of it. It's a heartbeat. So the struggles of a husband and wife relationships with family or a son coming of age, as well as relationships with Ragnar and his brother, all those are even relevant today. It doesn't matter which society or which era we're in. So I think a lot of people will identify that, even though this was set in the 8th century, for example. So I think there's a lot of similarities.
And I guess my last question is, what was the most fun thing about doing this whole ride?
The most fun? Oh, wow. We had so many amazing experiences. I can't even... I just think being allowed to transform myself to a whole different thing and learning of what they believed in and just their mythology. And I know there's a lot of reference with me just with the goddess Freya and fertility and telling my children these incredible stories, and that was their form of entertainment, is to tell these incredible stories. And I think all that is so that part we're missing, I think, in our society, other than just because we're so tuned in our Blackberries. And I think that the act of entertaining each other through stories and through engaging and having that personal relationship is nice and refreshing to see.
Well, very cool. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.